Our initial goals were pretty small, really. We just decided that we wanted to launch a website so that we wouldn't need to freelance anymore, and we could, travel and have a bit more flexibility in terms of our work hours. As soon as we launched Flashed Envato, we pretty much became obsessed with it. In fact, we became, I think in the 9 months that we were building it, our expectations got, greater and greater and greater. So I think our goals shifted really quite quickly, and now they're huge, as Collis will tell you.
They're a little bit big. It's just so exciting. I mean, like the things the opportunities, I guess, that keep opening up when we launched the first site, we were starting with nothing. So, there was no user base, nobody had heard of us. These days, I think we've been really lucky to build up a community and an audience so that we can launch other things. So all of a sudden the opportunities are there, which means like now we're thinking, hey, let's take our educational, our Tuts sites and go like, massive, and like let's take our marketplace and then build other marketplaces. So I think that's really what kind of happened. We started off going, hey, let's just build one site, and then it was like a ball unraveling of...
And people are always writing to us with absolutely fantastic ideas. So we'll get all these emails from people going, I really want to sell blah with you, I really want to sell blah with you. And then we'll think, oh, that's absolutely awesome, we should do that.
Yeah, start that blah marketplace.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Well, I actually studied to be a graphic designer, but at University of New South Wales, but after I left there, I got a job, and I realised I was actually a lot better at project management. So I sort of got into there organising photo shoots and all that sort of thing for the company I was working for. And then after that, went from there in project management, really. How about you?
I studied math. Studied maths and computer science, and for my honours year, I had to write an encryption code. My encryption code was so good that most of the time you couldn't find the information after you encrypted it. So yeah, it didn't go so well. After that, I actually had a flatmate who was a web designer, and I was always paying attention to what he was doing and thinking, wow, that looks like a lot more fun than what I have to do. So yeah, I started to teach myself Photoshop with some tutorials and got into design.
I must admit I haven't so much. We did start a business really young. I was 24 when we started our first business, but before that, not particularly entrepreneurial at all. I tend to be more the one who sort of pulls it back and organises it, and Collis is the entrepreneurial one.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. When I was a kid, I started little businesses selling cakes to the people at my dad's office. I think that was my first business. It didn't go so well because after a couple months I got a bit bored of baking cakes every weekend to sell the following week, and someone else moved in on my territory. So there's an important lesson there. Consistency is key when it comes to business. But yeah, no, I think it's fair to say I've always been a bit entrepreneurial. During university and whatnot, though, I guess I was pretty busy studying, and then after that, when we got into our 20s, we had the opportunity to really start something up. And
couple of things up.
Couple of things. I think the biggest problem we've faced is probably trying to do too many things. I like to joke that I've got a bit of ADD when it comes to new projects, and so oftentimes when it's not really an appropriate time to start a new site, I just get a little bit too excited. I think there's been 2 sites that were thought up on a Friday and launched on a Monday. Freelance Switch started on a Friday, was live by Monday. Tuts was even shorter. In fact, on Saturday we were having tea and I was like, hey, why don't we start a site about web development tutorials? And on Monday it was live, and then by the following Friday I was thinking, oh my, where are we going to get the content for this? Who's going to write all these tutorials? So yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest problems or the biggest challenge we've faced. But in some ways, it's kind of cool. You jump in and hopefully you swim.
Yeah, somebody once said that our greatest asset was our naivety. So we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into until we actually did it. But every time we haven't sunk, we've swum. So,
Yeah,
and we're getting better at it, I
yeah.
think, as time goes on.
There's been a couple of sites that fell by the wayside, but mostly they've been home
They've
runs.
gone well, yeah.
Well, in the early days, it took quite a while actually for us to see a single penny. We began actually, because we were freelancing at the time, and decided, hey, let's try to build a business where we don't have clients and don't have midnight deadlines and crazy freelancing experiences. So we thought, oh, let's launch a sort of an online business, and we called up a programmer we knew named Ryan, this very talented developer, and I briefed him, because originally we were just building Flashdin, and I remember telling him, oh, it's only going to take like 8 weeks, don't worry. It's a piece of cake. So he flew down to where we were and we started building the site. 8 weeks passed and I think we had like the barest part of a prototype. In the end, it took us a good 6 or 7 months.
It was 9 months.
9 months?
9
Wow,
months.
might as well have had a baby.
Yeah, Flashdin was our baby.
Took a long time. Strange name for a baby. Took us a long time, but we burned through all our cash, of course. We burned through all our savings.
Got into a lot of debt.
We were, I had to move in with Cyan's parents. We were living in the basement.
Working in their garage.
Yeah, working in their garage. That part of that came later.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we were working in their garage, living in their basement, burning through all our cash, and then we launched Flashdin. It was like August 21st, back in 2006.
And we were like, now the money's going to roll in.
That's right. We were sitting there hitting the refresh button going, come on, money! And I think that night we made $10. So yeah, $10 later, we realized, okay, this is going to take a while. So we kept freelancing. And I think it was about a year before we saw a paycheck. And even then, it was a pretty small paycheck.
Yeah.
But
that was, that was okay. That was all part of the plan. We made a decision that we'd rather sort of put money back into the company and really get it off the ground strong. And we had the luxury of being able to do freelance work at the same time, even though it meant we didn't have a day off for 4 months. We were working like 14-hour days.
It's an exciting 4 months.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, and we've always been about growth, I think, with Envato. So we've always sort of pumped everything back in to try to expand it and get larger. And I mean, I think that's what's really exciting. And you want to have a job that's exciting. You want to go to work every day. So yeah, you build and make awesome websites. Tuts Plus Network. Oh, that's a long and interesting story. And it actually began with the site PSD Tuts, which at the time I had this plan that I was going to buy websites and then just fix them up and then sell them, kind of like flipping houses. This is one of my, except for with websites. And so I bought this site, PSD Tuts, which was a Photoshop tutorial site, because I kind of know a bit about Photoshop, I figured. And I grabbed it from SitePoint for I think $1,200.
Yeah, and he only told me after he bought it, and I freaked out.
Oh, there was buyer's remorse. Yes.
It's like $1,200. What are you doing?
Yeah, and then turned out I was not too good at flipping websites. I think the sort of fixing stuff up isn't really my forte. So after a couple months, I had this plan that I thought, oh well, I learned Photoshop with Photoshop tutorials, and I could write some. So I wrote a couple, and it's like, I'll just put them up on this website and just leave them there. And I think in the first week, it was on Dig 3 times, and so as you know, Dig traffic is massive. We're like, wow, this is the first time we've ever been on Dig without actually trying to get on Dig and trying to submit and get votes. It just kept happening. So we thought, oh wow, there must be something to it. So we switched to WordPress and started publishing more and more tutorials. And in the beginning, of course, most of it was written by me. One day, as I started running out of Photoshop ideas, I went trawling around the internet trying to find another talented Photoshopper to help out. And I stumbled on this site called Abdazito, which at the time was a tiny little site. And there was this Brazilian guy who was amazing at Photoshop. And I wrote to him thinking, nah, he's never gonna write for us. But yeah, he wrote back, and obviously that's Fabio Sasso, who went on to, he runs an enormous site now at Abdazito, and he wrote many of the early PSD Tuts tutorials. So yeah, and that was from there we just kind of built up.
We started Freelance Switch for a very simple reason, and that was that when we were freelancing, we really didn't know what we were doing. We were quite young. I started when I was 24 and you were 26, 27?
Yeah, a bit younger actually.
A bit younger. So we were really young and really, really green, and we wished that there was someone out there to tell us, you know, all these things that we didn't know how to do, like how to invoice and really elementary things like that.
How to estimate.
How to estimate. We just had absolutely no idea. So we were in a position to start Freelance, which we were discussing it, and we thought, well, look, why not? Why not just put everything that we found out the hard way on a site, so hopefully other people starting out don't need to learn the hard way and, you know, lose money and do stupid things and embarrass themselves and stuff like that. So that's really how it started, and it grew from there.
I also think though that freelancing is it can be a little bit lonely, you know, you're working at home, so it was also kind of neat just to get a lot of different freelancers together and talking and like sharing their bits of wisdom, because like we may have figured out one or two things, not too many, despite writing a book about it. But like other people had other insights to bring. And like I know as soon as we started writing Freelance Switch, I actually started thinking, hey, we should go back to freelancing because I know a lot more about it than I used to. So I think definitely it was like partly like to help, you know, people share, and also partly to help just people connect, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. I love all the marketplaces, I must say, and what's really nice is that these days they all sort of interconnect with one another. So, you know, there's a global marketplace discussion and everybody gets involved, and so it's really feeling a lot more sort of interconnected. But if I had to pick one, I'd say that I really have a very sentimental attachment to Flashden, just because, you know, as I said previously, it was our baby, our 9-month baby, and yeah, I've just, some of the guys on there, I've known them for years. I've never met them, but, you know, I've talked to them on the forums.
Met a couple of them.
We have met a couple of them.
Adrian in Montreal.
Yes, met Adrian in Montreal, and yeah, a couple of other people.
But no, I think I mean, I don't have a favorite marketplace. I think they're all pretty cool. I think the way that the marketplaces are going also is that everything is slowly interconnecting. Like it's not an accident that we happen to have audio, video, graphics. Like, you know, we're sort of building up a community of people whose work can build on each other. One thing we're quite excited about in the future is like helping people to do sort of mashups, and so that, you know, somebody might, like I might come along and go, hey, I'm a web designer, but I don't know that much about audio production. So if I need some audio on my web template, or then that's, you know, that's something I can grab from Audio Jungle and then like work into my own items. Or icons. I'm a terrible icon designer, but we've got some really awesome guys on Graphic River, so that's perfect. So I think that's kind of something that I'm quite excited about, how the marketplaces are moving.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting.
Oh, well, people often think Cyan is a man, and my
before
brother.
they've met me,
yes, before
point out. Yeah.
and my brother to boot, which is disturbing on many levels.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails beginning with, "Hey, bro," "Hey, dude." I'm like, I'm a woman. Anyway.
Actually, my brothers do work with us. My big brother is our chief of operations, so he kind of brings the practical bent, like where we're a little bit off the wall sometimes, the crazy ideas.
A bit ambitious.
Yeah, and my little brother helps out with support, Annie.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, what other fun
It's a family
facts?
affair. Collis is great at the piano.
Wow.
He plays the piano
Great.
every night. And in fact, when we were in Montreal, we had a couple of jam sessions with Adrian Gardner, who's the marketplace community manager. You'll know him as Adge3 Studios, which was great fun. And I trained to be an opera singer up until I was 18, but then realised I was a much better project manager than I was an opera singer.
She's got some voice on her there.
Oh, thank you.
And I grew up in Papua New Guinea. I'm actually half Iranian, half English. Grew up in Papua New Guinea, which is a Pacific island just north of Australia, which is interesting because it's got 850 distinct languages. So I think it's close to a third of the world's languages are all based in this one place, which is pretty diverse.
And I was born in the US, I was born in New York, and my mother's French and my dad's Greek-Australian. So we're a couple of mongrels.
All over.
Yeah. Well, we've somewhat learnt this the hard way. Sometimes we got everything right, sometimes a bit of this, sometimes a bit of that. But if I had to narrow it down to 3 things, I'd say really amazing content, obviously, is the first one, the default one. You also want to have a nice design to wrap it in, which Collis does a good job of. And finally, really importantly, the one that tends to trip people up, I think, and has tripped us up a little bit in the past, is consistency. When you get in there, you've got to make sure you're in there for the long haul, because a blog is just, it's a slow race.
Yeah, and even with, the marketplaces as well, you need to be consistent with managing the site. But I do think the first one is the one that has really helped build Envato, which is content. Good content. Good content always brings people. And like design, you can add that later on.
Or you can buy it. You don't need to.
I feel like I'm betraying the web design community saying this, but no, design is pretty critical, don't get me wrong.
It is critical, but
if you put the content in as your... Content is king, right? That's what they always say. And design kind of helps get that content out there. Hopefully the design sort of steps back and just makes it really easy to get to the content.
Yeah, it's important in the context of giving credibility.
Yeah,
you don't want, flashing lights everywhere.
Animated skulls.
Yeah, animated GIFs
flames.
everywhere.
We have people all over the world where we really think of ourselves as a global company. Our sites are global, our audience is global, so it's quite important to us that that our staff are global as well. And also from the point of view of, you get to have the best people working for you. And like, who cares where they are? Who cares, where they grew up or any of those things? It's like we're a global company. Why don't we hire people on pretty much every continent? I actually, a little while ago, put up on Twitter that we have staff on every continent, and somebody very clever wrote back and said, "Do you have anyone in Antarctica?" And I was like, "Dope, stupid
so
geography."
From Antarctica,
yes, we're hiring.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we've got, we have site managers, editors, writers, reviewers, all based around the world. I guess our HQ, our headquarters, is in Melbourne, Australia, where we've got like a small team with an accountant and some of the administrative stuff, and also a group of very talented Ruby developers. So that's, I guess, where our central base is. But really, we really are a global company.
Well, as you can imagine, having employees everywhere and in every time zone is a bit of a challenge, but it's also really fantastic. As we said, it means that we've got the opportunity to work with some of the best people in the world, which is pretty incredible, and they really are a fantastic team. So I'd say the biggest issue is the time zones. So we'll have, we've got a new German site manager who has to have a meeting at like 3 o'clock in the morning with the rest of the site managers in order to sort of participate.
Sorry, Matthias.
Yes, hey. But he takes it with very good grace. So really, I'd say we've got the communication down fairly well now. Email and Skype, the occasional phone call. It works out quite well, I think, and it's interesting to sort of be moving forward in that field, because I don't think many people are doing that right now.
Yeah, there's a couple of cool companies. Automatic, the guys from WordPress, have people all over the place.
They do that too, and they actually have, I believe, like a yearly or every 6 months, they all get together at some big, tropical locale and have like a week long.
Tropical.
Well, in my mind, it's tropical. a week long sort of conference thing.
Yeah.
I don't really know the details, but it sounds fantastic, and I really want to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic.
Envato meet, get all the staff, all the guys from our communities together.
And we want to have conferences one day as well, but we haven't discussed that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I want to have a conference.
Other types of businesses. I've got heaps of other types of businesses in my head. I write a lot of ideas down in my moleskin notebooks, especially on weekends. We go and have tea, and I write down all sorts of things about, what if we did this and that? I think at the moment, one thing which we really want to get into more and more is education. It's not exactly a business, but and we're kind of already in there with our Tuts websites. It's just something we really want to expand into, especially going out. Right now we do a lot of sort of creative fields, a bit of IT, I guess, with NetTuts. We want to branch out further and further. It would be really cool to be teaching all sorts of stuff. That's definitely something I'd like
really
to get into.
doing.
Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to other businesses, there's a
There are
list a
lot
mile long.
of things.
Oh, Envato grow. Well, I'd like to see it get absolutely massive, but I think that's the sort of direction we're heading. I think, well, if all goes to plan, we hope. One place that we're very excited about going, as I've mentioned in the past, is to do with education, really taking Tuts to the next level. So it started off just as like one site doing a couple tutorials, then we're like, hey, let's do many sites of tutorials. The current thing we're working on is, well, two-part actually. One is we're working on adding some sort of more social aspects to the site, sort of giving, I guess, the education a bit of a social bent. So you know, you form groups of like, you know, we're the Baltimore Photoshoppers, or you know, all the Baltimore Photoshoppers like, yeah, we're going to start that group. Yeah, no, giving it a bit more of a social thing. So you know, you learn together, you share techniques, maybe you find other people who are at the same sort of level. That's one part of it, and the other part is also currently we have very much sort of practical, sort of almost vocational skills that we're teaching. We'd like to add another stream of sites which are sort of at a slightly higher level, possibly a little bit more theoretical, something that multiple different types of people would connect to. So say something like typography is pertinent to people doing After Effects, it's pertinent to people doing Photoshop, vectors, whatever. It's like a sort of higher level topic, so it applies to all those guys. So it'd be really cool to have a site which teaches that sort of stuff. So those two things are two things which we're really going to be focusing on.
Yeah. And in terms of the marketplaces, basically we just want to make them a lot better, especially for our authors. We want to do more for the authors and really just be the best place to sell your stuff.
We've got a new design coming?
Basically, yeah, we've got a new design coming. Nothing
3D
ever goes
Ocean.
as quickly as we want it to go.
Yeah, that's one lesson we've learned, I think, is that things always take longer than you hope.
Yeah.
I still remember the first time when we announced Audio Jungle. I think it was about a year before it actually happened. We're like, Audio Jungle next month. Okay, the following month. Very soon, this Christmas. But we did get it out eventually. I think that's a lesson we've learned, that like, you know, you have to pace yourselves. But
but the long-term vision for the marketplace is really just to make it an absolutely excellent place to sell your stuff and an excellent place to buy your stuff. It sounds a bit cheesy, but that's what we're after, I think.
Advice for aspiring entrepreneurs. I think probably the biggest thing I would say is start small, unless, I mean, if you're a seasoned businessman, I guess you might want to go all out. But personally, I'm always of the philosophy that you start small, build something that is sustainable. So with Envato, we started with Flash 10, and we made sure that was actually making a bit of money. Not very much at first, but and then we went to Freelance Switch, and then, you know, so you start small, and you I guess you know, make sure it's a business you're growing which is actually can keep itself going.
Profitable as it goes.
Yeah.
You've always talked a lot about iteration.
Iteration,
as well.
Yeah. You can make things better as you go. Like, you don't need to get it perfect the first time. It's much better just to get started. Start with something and then improve as you go. So with the tutorial sites, we just started with something. Turns out it was like nothing like what it's going to be in the future. And then we improved a little bit, you know, added an editor. Those early days was terrible. Like, it would take me days to reply to comments or even to moderate them sometimes. So yeah, you start with something, start small, and then just improve as you go.
Yeah. I think the thing that I'd say is I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs who seem to think that they need outside funding, investor funding, in order to get their business off the ground. And that ties into what Collis was saying. If you start small and you make sure what you have is making a profit, then hopefully you won't get into too much financial strife and you can just sort of just build up from there. I think
We've never taken any.
no, and I'm really
funding.
happy that we didn't. We've gotten quite a few offers at this point, but I think when you do, you're put in the position of you've always got to be thinking about the bottom line, and you've always got to be thinking about making maximum profit in the short term. And I think what's really nice about how we've been able to do it is that we can think, all right, well, let's just raise the commission rates a little bit, even though, you know, somebody who's just thinking about the bottom line would say, no, that's not a great plan.
Yeah.
But we've got the luxury of being able to do what we feel A is right and B what we feel is going to afford maximum longevity.
Frankly, business is much more fun if you're free to make a few harebrained decisions like, hey, let's launch Tuts on Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Or let's start some new site that has no profit potential at all.
Yeah.
No, it's good, I think. I mean, venture capital has its own...
Oh, it's great.
yeah,
It's
so-
great. Don't get me wrong.
But-
But you don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need to be
Yeah.
thinking, well, I've got to have this massive, huge website and everything to be perfect and, you know, and a huge amount of money and everything else in order to make it work because, you know, we really didn't and it worked out fine.
Yeah, I think the reason it's worked out fine for us is the support of all the people we've had, like not just our
Yeah.
staff, but you know our communities and our readers, and like there are so many times that I will be browsing the web and I'll find someone going, "Hey, check out this awesome website," and it's one of our websites. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, thanks, man, awesome." Yeah, I think it does come down to the community and
It's
the
true.
people out there.
Yeah.
And I guess we'd definitely like to say a big thank you to everyone who supported us these last 3 years.
Yeah, thank you to everyone and everybody in the marketplaces, everybody on Tuts, everyone we work with. It's been a brilliant 3 years. And here's
Couldn't have done it
more.
without you.
Yeah.